Okay, so it's 7:30. I told the managers we were starting right at 7:30, regardless of who was here or not, because we want to get through a lot of stuff this morning. So our training this morning is a little bit different than what we've done before. So most of what we've been doing Saturday morning has been product training. This is more skills training. One of the things that we kind of consistently see, that we consistently look at, Nicole, if you had a problem, name me 3 people that you would kick it to right this moment. You don't know the answer. Tell me 3 people.
In a specific order?
Just randomly.
Okay. Abe, you, Courtney.
Okay. I would throw Rick. I would throw Levi. I would throw Jeff on that list. Daryl. When you look at those names, Brian, when you look at those names, you would look at really seasoned employees, okay? Everybody would agree with me that we have time in. Chances are we're going to be able to answer the question. The thing that I think everybody doesn't realize is that for every one of those people, there was a time in their life where they were unable to answer that question. For every one of those people, they walk into situations probably weekly. I don't know the answer to this question. I'm going to do the best that I can to get through this, but I don't necessarily have the answer going in. So today's training is kind of, we call it intro to salesmanship. It's not necessarily that we want people to be salesmen about things. That's not really what we're going for. Really what we're going for is how do you navigate the conversations well? Because you can have, honestly, you can have this much confidence and this much knowledge, and you can navigate the conversation. You can also have this much knowledge and this much confidence, and you can blunder your way through the situation. You could not be able to answer the question. You could look just as silly walking away from that conversation when you have all of the knowledge in the world. So it's really about a balanced approach. And so each one of those people that we named off, they all have a level of confidence. Some of it is confidence because they've been here a while. Some of it is they're confident in navigating the situation. And really and truthfully, when you look at each of those people, they may not be confident in every area, right? Brian's probably not our guy that we're going to ask questions about what grains are running through the elevator. It's probably not where we're going to start. Okay. Everybody can recognize, though, no, wait a second. If I've got a chainsaw question, I'm going to Brian. So even in that, confidence can be limited. It can be in a certain stream. So the first, we have kind of 2 parts of this. The first part is, I want everybody to ask one more question. And you guys have heard me say this before. You guys have heard us reference this. You've heard Jeff reference this a while back. It's kind of one of our themes for this year. One of the things that we're really trying to introduce into the conversations that you have with our customers. Ask one more question. Make it the correct question, though. You can ask all the questions in the world, and if they're not the right question, it doesn't matter. It's not just about asking questions. Ask that one next question that makes sense, that steers the conversation. So I have 2 quotes that I want to start off with. So the first one is from Tony Robbins, and it says, successful people ask better questions, and as a result, they get better answers. And so this is such a simple thing. When I was writing this, I was like, this is almost too simplistic. We shouldn't as a company have to really push into, we should ask more questions, but we do. We need to ask more questions. And so the second quote is from somebody that I have no idea who it is, Nicola Stevenson. But it says, if you don't have the courage to ask, don't have the audacity to assume. So how many times do we not ask the question, but we assume that we know what that person needs, what that person is asking, whatever that is. So part 1, I'm going to run through just kind of a quick scenario. And I have some kind of breakaways. Okay, so I'm going to break away with just some kind of thoughts as we're working our way through this scenario. And then when we're done, we're going to move on to part 2, which is way more exciting than part 1. So a customer approaches and begins to ask you a question about a part that you're unsure of, okay? It's in his hand, and you don't know what it is, okay? And he starts using terminology that you don't understand, or he starts just saying things that you are unaware of, whatever it is. We've all been in the situation, okay? So almost all of our customers want us to have the answers that they need while providing us with very generic terms and a lot of times a lack of information or clarity. We don't always know the answer to the question going in. I think there was a situation a couple of weeks ago, okay? And it was one of the kind of situations that as a company, it just kind of balloons out sometimes. And there was a guy who wanted food plot seed, and he talked to Amy, and he had talked to Levi, and then somehow I got pulled into it. And we get all the way to the end, and I was confused about what we were selling him. I was like, why were we selling him that? And Levi was like, well, he also wants to be able to graze goats on there. Okay? That was a piece of information that they had at the very beginning because I came in on the backside that I didn't understand that it was multi-purpose. We all have that where we just are missing a piece of information from said scenario. Now, I asked the right question, but it was at the end. Why did we do that? Okay, that makes sense. So remember, it's going to be very generic sometimes. There's going to be a lack of information or clarity. Remember that our customers don't always know either, or they would not be asking us the question. Sometimes we think that because the person says something that they know and we don't know, a lot of times they're asking the question because they do not know either. And so you can now that's not always the case, okay? That is not always the case. But for a lot of just our customers that are wandering in and buying stuff, that's going to be the case. If one of our farmers comes in and they're asking specifically about spray, application, some of those things, chances are they know what they're talking about. Chances are they are. But for a lot of your homeowners that are walking in, they don't know. They really are seeking genuine guidance. Okay, so the customers approached us. This is the part where we usually start to derail. We start getting up here, okay? So you begin to worry about looking dumb, not having the answer. You begin to worry about what this person thinks of you. You begin to all of these things, right? So brain starts running faster and faster. We're asking more questions. Your heart is beating out of your chest. And then you begin to look for an exit ramp out of the conversation. Okay? Everybody does this. Even if you're super confident, you're going to sooner or later run into something that you're like, well, Rick's the better guy. And Rick maybe is the better guy. Okay? The problem is not that whether VJ's the right guy or Rick is the right guy. The problem is that we still have to navigate those first conversations well. We have knowledgeable people on staff, so we have to navigate those well. So we're looking for that exit ramp out of that conversation. How do I punt this to whoever it is? Okay? So I put this in there kind of as a joke, but well, this is about to be Abe's problem, right? That's the solution that we come to. Abe is going to handle this. He is going to clean this up. Okay? So in this scenario, though, obviously we're talking about parts. Okay? So, right, we're on the phone. Brian, there's a guy who wants to talk to somebody about parts. Okay? So now we've jockeyed customer to a second counter. And remember, this is just a scenario. I actually had about 12 of these. This is just the one I picked to run with. So we jockey somebody to the parts counter. Okay? And then the guy says what he's actually after. Do you carry hydrant replacement parts? My hydrant's leaking. Okay? Which everybody should know is really and truthfully a Rick question. It's not a Brian question. Okay? So the problem in this is not necessarily that and even the training that we're having today is not about you having every answer. It's about you guys handling the conversations really well and having the confidence to handle the situation and to get it to the right place, right? Because now what are we doing? Now we're backtracking. No, wait a second. This isn't Brian. Wait a second. I've got another guy. Let me go grab him. Because we didn't ask the right question, okay? And so many times if we had just asked one more correct question, you would have been able to assist the customer. The correct question in this one could have been something like, I'm really sorry, I don't I don't know exactly what that is. What's it off of? What are you working on? What's the issue? What's the problem? Right? It could have been something really simplistic, but yet we punt it. Wait a second, and we're going to get it over here. The thing that I will tell you is if in those situations you are not confident, and that's the route that we continue to take, you will never be confident in those situations. You're never going to have the answer to that situation. So you have to be willing to put yourself out there a little bit. You have to be willing to look dumb a little bit in the moment in order to advance your actual kind of your progression of learning. So we consistently, including me, get to the middle of a conversation and the customer was asking for something completely different. But we didn't ask the correct question at the correct time. We want you to leave this training confident that you will mess up. You won't always ask the question that you should have. You won't always have every answer that you need to have. That's okay, as long as you learn from each encounter and you do better on the next one. The people that I am always the most impressed with, Rick has told me this several times. You know, when Rick started here, he didn't know a lot of this. He knew some of it. So he just dug into it. Okay, I'm going to figure it out. And then the next time, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to stick with the person who's answering the question. I'm going to, right? And so I think everybody in here would agree with what I'm getting ready to say. There's areas of the business where we really enjoy something, and there's areas that are just, okay, right? I'm not wound tight about this. I get that, okay? Your excitement doesn't necessarily have to be about what fertilizers we have. Your excitement should be around learning the product, learning what we're selling, taking care of the customer, serving our customers. That's where the excitement should be. So I want you guys to retain what you're learning, build on your knowledge. Be hungry to know the answer next time and strive to learn from each encounter. Be a part of figuring it out. Don't just pass it on to somebody else. Remember, confidence is knowing you will figure it out, not knowing all of the answers. Okay? So that was another quote that I found, right? That's what real confidence is. Confidence is in yourself is, I'm going to figure this out. This is going to be all right. This isn't going to be the thing that's going to derail me today. I'll go and figure it out. And if I look dumb in the process, that's all right. I'm going to play it off somehow. Or I'm going to this, or I'm going to that, or I'm going to navigate the conversation well. I'm going to get through the conversation correctly. Because I promise you guys, us not asking the question and then punting it somewhere else or this or that, or we call Levi and Levi comes out and Levi answers the question, and then we're like, well, crap, I could answer that question if I would have asked just that one more question. Okay, so that's part one. Ask more correct questions. Part two is navigating the conversation confidently. Okay, so Abe. So we're going to do a quick role play. The goal is for each of you to understand that we all get placed into situations that we're uncomfortable with. So Abe's going to play our customer who's seeking help from Levi and Rick. There's going to be two scenarios here. I picked Abe to be our difficult customer. For some reason, it just seemed to fit. So it seemed to fit. And so I was like, okay, this is perfect. And I picked Levi and Rick because both of them are fantastic at wading through customer issues seamlessly and confidently, even if they don't always have the answer right out of the gate. Here is the trick. They don't know the question that Abe's getting ready to ask. There has been no prep work here. They were told to show up, and they were told what to expect, and they were told who they were dealing with, and that's it. So Abe is going to ask the question to each one of them, and then we're going to wade through. And the truth is we may get to a point with each one of them where they say, I don't know. Brian is the right guy for this, and that's okay. But the challenge to both of them is to stay in the conversation as long as they can until we take the off-ramp. So Abe already has his mic. Levi or Rick, who's going first?
Don't matter.
We're going to go with Rick.
Okay. I disagree. I do not feel like I'm difficult.
You can punish him later.
I will. Okay, so I'm customer. Rick is obviously our employee, and we'll just kind of see where the conversation goes. So, yeah, I need those shirts over there. I need some help with those shirts over there.
Okay. Yeah. Can we go over and take a look at them? Is there
Yeah.
a specific brand that you like?
Those Carhartt ones.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you got anything lighter? Those things are too heavy.
Ooh,
They're like really thick.
that's a good question. So you thinking lighter in terms of material or sleeve length? What are we thinking? What are some things that are that you need to have about this shirt? Like, does it have to have a pocket on it? Things like that.
Yeah, it needs to have a pocket.
Needs to have a pocket. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Short sleeve, long sleeve.
I don't care.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to tell you, I don't know a ton about clothing. That's not one of the areas that I purchase in. But now that I got a little more info, I can talk to Amy. She's our clothing purchaser, and we can ask her about whether or not there's lighter materials and that kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah, I don't really want to deal with a woman.
Okay. So
I'd rather deal with you.
Okay. I can understand that. I tell you what, let me go grab a Carhartt book, and I'll be right back out, and we can kind of look through the Carhartt clothing book together and see if we can't find something that'll work for you.
Yeah, on second thought though, I'd rather what's this other brand you have, Ariat?
So
tell me about it.
So I actually love Ariat. I wear Ariat shirts almost every day. One of the things I like about them is they've got a long tail in the back, and that kind of helps cover me when I'm working and keeps me from exposing myself to my coworkers, which is a nice thing. So a lot of those Ariat shirts, they also have pockets. And Ariat makes this nice workwear line that's really breathable. It's got little holes in it, and it kind of helps keep things light. And
Are they
helps
made
keep
in
you cool.
America?
No, I don't believe so, but let's check the tag and make sure. It's going to say on the tag, but I don't believe that they are made in the U.S.
You have anything made in America?
Clothing-wise, I don't think so. I'm going to have to ask for sure, but I don't believe there's anything clothing-wise that's here that's made in the U.S.
What do you have here that's made in the U.S.?
I've got loads of stuff that's made in the U.S. So outside of clothing, we make our own feeds right here in Topeka. So those are made here in the U.S. We're a big dealer in Fimco sprayers. Those are made in South Dakota. We try to carry as much USA-made stuff as we can. Clothing's a tough one. There's almost no clothing manufacturers in the U.S. anymore.
Do you have Carhartt jeans?
Yeah, we do.
So see, that's an example of how many times this conversations in clothing just they're pinballed, right? They're all over the board. I mean, they go back and forth and absolutely no, obviously as an organization, we have tons of females that work for us, so we don't feel that way. But there is warning some of our females, that has been said to some of our female employees. It's been said to my wife. So that is something that could come up in conversation, and while it's ridiculous, there is people out there that their mindset's that way. They want to speak to whoever it is they feel like they want to speak to, and a lot of times it's because they come in with a predisposition answer in their head, whether it's on grass seed or clothing or outdoor power equipment. They have an answer that they want to hear, and they just keep asking questions until they get that answer. So Rick did a good job of just pushing that conversation further and further and further and further and building a little bit of rapport. And Rick doesn't know much of anything about clothing, surface level, right? So just keep that conversation moving forward. Is a great example there.
And can I interject a little? A lot of times customers come in and they maybe don't treat us well. Their worldview might not line up with ours. And I feel like my job here is not to fix them. It's not to correct wrong behavior. And if this had continued to play out and I had gotten a Carhartt book, obviously I'm not going to have all the answers to the questions. So I would have went and kind of made myself a go-between with Amy in the hopes that over time he would see that Amy is the one that really has the answers and try to build some trust there. Yeah. So that maybe later in the conversation we pull Amy in and we all work together. And then the next time he's not as afraid to say, hey, I need to talk to that lady that buys the clothes. She knows a lot of stuff. So it's not my job to fix them. We build trust and we build a relationship, and that's how we improve.
Yeah. And a lot of it was just Rick's answering the question very simply, but then also asking some follow-up questions, right? So make that customer speak to you. Make them do the talking as far as what they're after. Because the more they talk, the more information they're getting rid of. And at some point, there's going to be something in there that you grab and are like, okay, yep, now it is a Brian question. Oh, wait, yep, now it is a Rick question. Let them talk. Just keep them talking, and that'll help.
And one more thing. He asked me something I didn't know. Does Carhartt have a shirt in a lighter material? Even if he didn't buy a shirt, I'm going to go to Amy. I'm going to say, hey, Amy, does Carhartt make shirts in a lighter material?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So there,
right.
There we go. Now, right now, this morning, I have more info than I had when I walked in the door this morning.
Yep. And that's what BJ had spoke earlier about. There was a time when Levi didn't know the answer to the question, or Jeff or Rick or Abe or whoever, it doesn't matter. And the only reason why we know a lot of those is because we asked that follow-up. Amy, does Carhartt have a lighter weight t-shirt? So ask those follow-ups when you're done, because knowledge is obviously then in your back pocket. So perfect.
Moving on.
All right, yeah, we can't let Levi off the hook. Come on.
I think Rick did a pretty good job.
Rick,
Ready?
Ready or not.
I need some dog food.
Okay. We have a whole line. Have you walked down the aisle to see what we have yet? Okay.
Show me.
We've
Can you
got,
show me?
yeah, we've got primarily 3 different lines. So we've got our house brand for inexpensive dog food, and then we've got a diamond line, and then we've also got Science Diet, which is Topeka company. That'd be our high premium line. So we got a full lineup of all 3 of those. So just kind of depends on what you're looking for, what you're wanting to spend, what you've been feeding. Have you been feeding one of those brands?
I don't know what my wife feeds.
Okay.
She told me to get dog food.
The transitions are important with dogs, so you don't want to bounce them back and forth between different dog foods. So if you have, hopefully you have some left, and you're not just having to do a cold turkey transition, because their bodies are probably not going to like that. So best case scenario, you figure out, do you know what the bag looks like? If you saw it?
Maybe.
Okay, we can go take a look in the aisle and see if you can identify it from there.
I want something that's
small bags.
high quality, but not crazy price.
Okay, that'd probably be in that diamond line. So we've got a few bags in the aisle. We've got 20s and 40s over here, but we've also got some 40s up at the warehouse. So if you decide you want a 40, we can ring you up at the counter and they can meet you at the dock, and they can even load that for you, because you look like you probably can't lift a 40-pound bag.
I wouldn't recommend that.
but if you're going to say it, say it confidently.
Say it confidently. Yes, please do. Please do. Let us get that for you. Well, I got a dog that's like small and then a big dog. I want something I can feed both of them.
Yeah, you're just your like your premium line of the diamond would be just fine in that situation.
One of them has skin issues. He scratches a lot.
Science Diet would be your have a lot more options, and if you need particular issues like that looked at, then Science Diet is going to be your better bet. It's going to cost you some more money, but you can target specific issues better with the Science Diet, where the diamond is just going to be a more generic food, higher quality but more generic.
Do you have grain free?
We do.
What's
Taste
that?
of the Wild. It's a diamond line as well, owned by Diamond, but they do offer a grain free line. Again, a little bit more money, but a little bit better quality dog food.
So Levi navigated that really well. A lot better than I thought he was going to, honestly. Which kind of frustrates me a little bit. Just a smidge. Yeah. Because I thought for sure he would stumble through that, as far as we have a lot of lines of dog food. And unless you spend a lot of time there, Science Diet's its own booby trap, because they do have a ton of different specific avenues like Levi spoke to. There's a ton there. And I mean, even Diamond does, and we control that to some degree. We don't offer everything they have, but there's a lot of different variations of dog food back there. And everybody that walks in here and wants dog food is looking for something different. Every single one of them. Because you got the guy that just feeds the dog table scraps and chunk style dog food, all the way up to, I checked a guy out yesterday that bought 3 cases of cans and 3 big bags of Science Diet, he spent over $400 in 45 seconds on dog food. So it makes it difficult because we've got a huge variation of how people view that pet. So you can't just come into that conversation with a hammer either, because there's a lot of people that enjoy that, and we put a big emphasis on that Science Diet aisle, and we sell a lot of Science Diet. So yeah, Levi did a good job navigating that.
So a couple things I would add in Rick and Abe's conversation. If and when that conversation does come to directing to somebody else, don't just send them down to the parts counter. Don't just say Brian's over at the parts counter in the corner. He'll take care of you. Those transitions happen much better if you create that transition. If you walk the customer to Brian and say, "This is Brian. He will get you helped with that. This is Sarah. She actually does all our clothing purchasing. She will take you from here. I've helped you everything I can." Sometimes you can stay and listen to that conversation because you have the time. Other times it's busy and you can't do that. So you have to hand them off and then get back to the front counter or whatever. But those transitions happen much more effectively if you can actually hand them off physically to that other person. Another thing to keep in mind is that people just want to be listened to. They want to be helped, even if you don't have all the answers. So another thing you can do when you're considering this is put yourself, you've all experienced bad customer service. Look at the opposite of the bad times and ask yourself what you would have experienced, what you would have liked to experience. So when you walk into a big box store, for instance, and you literally don't see anybody, or you see somebody and they don't stop to see if you need help, consider that as well. Consider the opposites. You just want to be cared for as a customer. So even if the person you're talking to, the floor associate at the big box store that comes by and asks you something, even if they don't know the answer, at least being recognized and greeted and trying to help goes a long way with customers. Just having that effort, just showing that extra care.
Yeah, I think sometimes we underestimate that.
Mm-hmm.
And don't use that enough. Whether that's handing, instead of just telling them, "Hey, go down to the parts counter, they'll take care of you," which is fine. It's an acceptable answer. But then take that to the next level where you walk them down and say, "Yeah, let me show you. This is your first time in our store," and you walk them down there. All of a sudden it builds that trust and you bridge that. So don't underestimate that. It's a good point, Levi.
And same thing if something's on the floor, obviously. If they ask where your Tordon's at, you can say aisle 18, or you can walk them back to the Tordon, obviously. And there's times that walking them back is not going to be possible because you're the only one at the counter, or there's a line full of people at the counter. But when those opportunities do present themselves that you can walk them back, by all means, walk them back there and show them.
And when you do walk them back, you've got a beautiful 30-second window to say, "How's your day going today so far?" To build a little bit of rapport, have a little conversation as you walk back with them.
Yeah.
So I got two things that I wasn't even going to say that I think as we watched this that kind of came to mind. So both Rick and Levi, they stayed out of the weeds in the conversation. They didn't get down into the specifics, and that helped them navigate the situation. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but he didn't ask, "What kind of dog do you have, and how big is it, and how big's the other one?" And it was easier to say, "Hey," right? Because Abe was throwing multiple factors in there. So when somebody is throwing multiple factors, sometimes, at least for the time being, it's easier to just kind of stay as high and as generic as we can. I understand that you need to kill some weeds, right? We'll get down to what kind of weeds you need to kill later. But for right now, let's kind of stay out of the details. So just think about that is how do you kind of stay out of the weeds until you need to go back down into them? How do you stay in the conversation wise? How do you stay up above the conversation, answering generically until you have, to Abe's point, gathered the information? Because sooner or later, especially in Rick's, as Rick and Abe were going back and forth, there's a lot of details coming out. There's a lot of stuff. So sooner or later, to Abe's point, you're going to grasp onto that and you're going to say, "Oh, okay. No, you don't need this," right? You actually need crossbow because you're trying to kill brush. You're not trying to kill grass or whatever that looks like. And so just a few things. I hope that as we get to the end of this, I hope that everybody can kind of see what we're going for, right? Is we're not expecting everybody to know every answer. But we can have the expectation of you guys to navigate the conversation well and navigate it confidently, to ask another question. So does anybody have any questions on anything? We got like 20 seconds. All right. Good job, everybody. Thank you, guys.